Hi, Kirsty. Kirsty99. I'm Braven. Well, the way I make these sculptures is I cast them in. I make a rubber mold from a clay sculpture. Then I cast them in concrete, and I just use sidewalk cement from Home Depot because it's weatherproof. And I'll show you one of the molds. This is the rubber mold that I use to make these bananas. So I put concrete in here, make it hollow. And then, long story short, I paint and lacquer them. And then I sell them at farmers markets and local art galleries and places like that. Well, thank you for the wow. Better than a thumbs up. These bananas are pretty popular. I think I've got them at my whatnot shop. Oh, hold on a second. If these look interesting, I usually type in my Etsy shop. I have an Etsy store with like 130 sculptures. So hold on a second. Take a look at the chat, and I will type in my Etsy shop address. Yeah, there you go. And that's where I have a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to buy anything; you can just look. But it's kind of like a gallery. So I usually cast things on Monday. Then I take them out of the mold and grind off the rough edges and smooth them and sand them on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then on Thursday and Friday, I paint and lacquer them, and I sell them at farmers markets on Saturday and Sunday. And then just repeat the process every week. And then I also sell at Etsy. And I take my phone camera with me every day to just make a little video of what I'm doing. Thanks. Yeah, I just love it. I just start pushing the clay around, and whatever happens, happens. I don't know if you can see it, but when I made the clay sculpture that these banana wise guys are based on, I was watching a James Cagney gangster movie, and I just had this idea, this feeling of like a couple of wise guys casing the joint, cooking up a caper. Don't want to cover the faces with too much opaque acrylic paint because it has contrast. Oh, you're asking if I cover the faces completely with opaque color, will it make them look flatter? And yeah, the answer is yes. Let me show you. Hold on a second. Okay, take a look at these two suns. This one, when I first started out, all I knew how to do was just cover everything with color, and this is just spray painted. This is a son of mine that I made a long time ago. But then I started layering watercolors and started making them like this, and this is completely, I think it's much more expressive and contrasting, this kind of color. So that is what it would look like, and the eyes are kind of boring, not a lot of expression there. But this one has a lot of contrast. So this is why I put a layer of dark color underneath the translucent color. Yeah, it also makes them layering watercolors instead of just slopping on opaque color. Really gives them a softer feel, like you wouldn't think they were made of concrete or stone, especially after they're lacquered and have a coating of wax polish. I use a just furniture polish as the final step after clear lacquer. Okay, that one's done. I'll find places to put these things. I just turn on a fan when I want them to dry a little quicker. I used to have a I used to have uh, another completely different career, and I just did this as a hobby, and it was about when I was just selling on Etsy. It was just about 5% of my income, and I've been a reporter, a wire service reporter, a newspaper reporter, and I was a translator. I was a translator for about 30 years. Um, but AI came along and kind of took the fun and the money out of translating. So instead of chasing ever more menial jobs with ever more increasing energy, I I just decided to say I'm out of here, and so I hardly translate anymore. I only do about 5% translating now, and this is about 60% of my livelihood, and it's serious grown-up money from about May to September, and then sales kind of um, gallery sales and farmers market sales start slowing down, and I do other stuff. But so, long story short, it's about 60% of my income as uh, a dad with a mortgage and two girls in college. But I can't rely on it 100% yet. No, that's fine. You could ask anything you want. I kind of spread my money out, but I just, I just, I'm 60 years old. I'm a jack of all trades. I've had a lot of jobs, so I find ways to make money, and um, I spend the slow months from around November through February, um, really just building up inventory and making a lot of stuff, and trying to make like 3 or 4 of every sculpture that I have, which is like a couple hundred items. So, and then just stack them all up in my backyard and get them ready for painting. And then when they sell in, May through September, um, then it's a little bit easier, a little less hectic. So I do a lot of casting and sculpting in the slow months, and a lot of just sort of budgeting and being careful with money. Then when I have a good sale, like if I if I sell a whole lot on a weekend, I'll just feel like lighting cigars with $100 bills and making down payments on Maseratis. Not really, but how to start a business. It's just complete helter skelter. I really didn't. I started Etsy about 12 years ago, and what kind of art do you do? Oh, wood burning. Yeah, wood burning is pretty big at craft markets. Um, there's I use a I know people who around Oregon, um, North Oregon, and Southern Washington State area who they they make either little glass items or jewelry or wood burning or chain mail, all kinds of crafts, and they just get really active in seeking out craft markets, and they will drive 3 hours. They set a limit, like I'm not going to drive more than 3 hours to get to a market, and they just look around where they live within a radius of, say 200 miles, or what's 3 hours driving. Um, yeah, like 200 miles, and then they just start applying for a lot of markets, um, and then they just get a tent. They get a canopy and a car that can carry all their stuff, and they will just be like a traveling circus, and just go and set up their tent at, at a market, um, like a craft market, or a farmer's market, or an annual holiday market, or street fair, or a farmer's market, and they'll just be constantly driving to different places. It takes a lot of energy, but some people make a living at it, just aggressively seeking out markets. One way to do that is to go to a website called managemymarkets.com. Type it in if you're interested in this. It's all one word, managemymarket.com. And hold on, I'm not going to talk while I type. Hold on a second. MANAGEMYMARKET.com. Hold on a second. Let me managemymarket.com. Okay. I've only been doing this 2 years, but I've got a little bit of experience just, selling at in-person markets. It's very exciting and a lot of fun. And so I go to managemymarket.com, and you can, if you look at, there's a little tab on the side in the menu on the left side that says find a market. And you click on that, and then you just type in the radius of miles within, from your location of markets you want to search for. You type in 30 miles if you only want to drive a half an hour. And all kinds of farmers markets and craft markets will pop up, and you can just click on one to apply to it. It's like a central website where all these markets, where almost every potential market will register itself. And then you just follow the instructions and apply. Sometimes there's like a fee of anywhere from 10 to 35 bucks, maybe 50 bucks for a huge, really happening market. And then if you're accepted, you read the rules, and you get a tent, you get a canopy that you can just buy at Amazon. And after I spent maybe $400, $500, $600 just kind of getting all the insurance and equipment, tent and tables and things that I needed set up. And then I just set up my market and started selling. I started just to sort of learn how to do it. I started at a very small, my local farmer's market, like 4 blocks from my house. And I sold very little, but I really spent the summer learning how to do it, just how to set up your tent, how to swipe a credit card. It seemed like such a mystery, like it would be so impossible and difficult, and I didn't understand it. What is Venmo? I don't know what Venmo is. It's all so simple and easy after you just try it. There's almost no aspect of selling at farmers markets and crafts markets that is not intuitive and easy to figure out once you just try it. It's just a lot of work. But there's nothing like standing around talking to people all day long in person about your art, and watching them as they make their decision and either walk away or say, I'll take that one, please. Oh, another thing I did is I created a sort of a table and a setup, a display of my sculptures. And before the farmer's market, like the weekend before, I just practiced setting it all up in my backyard and packing it. I practiced packing it into the car just to learn how it fits in my car. Just very practical things like that. Uh, how much you're asking? How much of an inventory would I recommend starting out with? I would just put together as much. I would say you're not going to know that until you've tried a few markets, a few market days, and really super busy markets like a Christmas market held once a year in a giant um, hotel convention center. You're going to need just all the inventory you can possibly make. But a little farmer's market with just 7 tents in a parking lot um, on a Sunday in February or something like that, the kind of market that you would learn from, that you would attend, not so much to get rich, but to learn how to do it. Market like that, you might just need like 3 items, whatever makes a good display. So here's what I would do. Take what you have. Don't put off learning and going to markets because you feel you don't have the inventory. Take what you have and make your criterion for your first few markets just enough to make an attractive display. That's it. You don't have to give the world a comprehensive view of everything you've made in your life. Just like I would in my first market, I just put out like two or three, a couple dozen of these little fruits and vegetables with funny faces on them. And then I learned which markets you need a big inventory and which ones you don't. But I would say learn by doing. But for your first time, however many you have on hand that you can display attractively, and if you sell out, you're going to feel real good. It's really cool to have an empty display because you've sold everything. And if your display is empty or you run out of items, maybe bring along photos of items that you can show people and say, you can order this from me and I'll bring it next week or something like that. Or set up an Etsy shop. And what I do at my farmer's market stall is when I run out of something, like I run out of bananas all the time because people like them, people buy them. And I, I have a little tablet computer where I can pop it up and just show them my Etsy shop real quick. Or I tell them and they call up my Etsy shop on their phone and then they go home and order it from there. Whatever you can do to get the sale. So after a farmer's market, when I hand out a lot of flyers that have my Etsy shop on them, I get a mysterious uptick in Etsy orders from the city I was just doing a farmer's market in, which means someone took my flyer, they saw my stuff at the farmer's market, they didn't feel like reaching out and buying something right there, but they looked at it, they saw what it really looks and feels like, then they went home to their computer and ordered one. You got to aim for those people too, or for that venue, that style of sale. Uh-oh. See, I haven't put a dark layer on this thing yet. This is not, this is too early to do this. I'm going to go wash this off. This guy I just cast. Almost done with these bananas. Let's get this done. Hi, Learly. We're painting concrete sculptures that I cast earlier in the week. I do the initial sculpting in pottery clay, water-based clay. Then I make rubber molds off my clay sculptures, and then cast them in concrete, just because it's weatherproof. So I cast them on Monday. I take them out of the molds on Tuesday and Wednesday, and in those days, grind them and grind off the rough edges and sand them smooth and fill in little imperfections. And then on Thursday and Friday, I paint them and lacquer them. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I sell them at local farmers markets and craft markets. And on Etsy, I always sell them on Etsy. But that's my weekly rhythm, sort of. And I take my phone camera along with me every day at 11 o'clock my time. I'm in Portland, Oregon. And just do about an hour's. I wouldn't even call it a show. I just kind of turn my camera on and whatever happens, happens. As long as I'm working anyway, I just film, I just video the work I'm doing on that day. Yeah, I'm going to the market this weekend. I'm going to the Vancouver Farmers Market in Vancouver, Washington. I live in Portland, Oregon. And so it's just a 15-minute drive up north across the Columbia River to Vancouver. And I like that market. I used to go to the Portland Saturday Market, which is a fantastic craft market for sellers and for buyers. It's a venerable institution that's been around since the days of the hippies, and there are some old timers there who've been there doing their unique craft of all kinds, from flute making to leather work to pyrography and wood burning to jewelry. They've been there. There's some people who've been there 40 years. They're amazing sculptors too. But I don't go there anymore because I have 300 pounds of these concrete cast sculptures, and the logistics of setting up in the morning in Portland at the Portland Saturday Market are just too difficult for me. You have to drop your stuff off on the sidewalk, go park your car in a parking structure 10 minutes away, walk back, find a push cart, load it with all your stuff, push it to your location, unload, then start setting up. And it just takes me, my heart is with that market, but it's just too hard to set up there. So I go to the Vancouver Farmers Market, where as a vendor, I just pull up in the morning at my spot on the street, dump my stuff, park around the corner, and set up. And that saves me as much as 3 hours in an average market day, so of setting up. So just too much information perhaps, but just a little slice of life. The answer to your question is yes, I'm going to the Vancouver Farmers Market on the weekend. Thanks, Kirsty. Yeah, in-person markets are just an awesome experience. First of all, the cast of characters is inevitably fantastic. I mean, just you get farmers, you get craftspeople, you get the general public walking around, just all kinds of people. And you get to show your stuff to people and get real honest, especially from kids. You get real honest assessments of what you're making with your hands, and the ultimate review every single day is whether someone buys it or not. But I like to ask kids. When kids come by, I inevitably just say, "What do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down?" And kids are so honest. Like, they'll say, "It's creepy," or like, my favorite was one kid. He comes by, he says, "They look kind of dumb, but they look kind of funny." You can tell what they mean. But I also enjoy it when people are just polite, out of politeness, will say, "Oh, these are awesome." I like that too. I just like all the interaction with people because it's the opposite of the COVID years. Remember when COVID, you couldn't shake hands with people? Now you can shake hands again. Yeah, the kids are honest. That's what I like about them. But I also tell them, especially if they really show an interest, I make sure and tell them you can make stuff like this at home if you really want to. All you have to do is spend time, just get some clay and spend time on it. And if it doesn't turn out the way you want it, just smush it up and make another because it's just clay. Yeah, COVID put the world upside down. Some people benefited from it. I just saw a random YouTube video about a British pub pianist who he was trying to perfect his craft, and in British pub pianists, their sort of skill is in how many songs they can answer when requested, and he said he knew about 1,000, and he was told by more experienced pianists, no, you need at least 1,000, and preferably 3,000. So during COVID, when he couldn't work because all the pubs were closed down, he just practiced and practiced for like a couple of years, and he now knows like 5,000 songs, and you can just tell him any song and he'll play it. Hi, G. Polly. I'm painting concrete sculptures. These are my own original sculptures that I cast out of just sidewalk cement to make them weatherproof. And then I sell them at outdoor markets like farmers markets and craft markets as either fine art or garden art. You can put them indoors or outdoors. Yeah, I found art and sculpture. I just like to compare it to piano because I do like 20 minutes of sculpture of clay, like creative clay sculpture, and I'm exhausted. And I was telling my friend Quan Yi that one time. He's a pianist, like he goes to he's a competitive pianist professionally, and he just flies all around the world going to piano competitions with money rewards, and that's his income. And so he told me one time, I said, some days I only practice, I only do sculpture like 10 minutes. I don't know what's going on. And he says, I go, how long do you usually practice? And he goes, oh, like on Saturday I did 11 hours. It's like blown away. I try to emulate that kind of discipline. Next door to dogs. I'm out in my backyard. That's the sound of the wild, sculpting in the wild. No, those are the next door dogs. My neighbors. I have one cat. That's it. I wonder if that's worth fixing. I think I'll put some putty in it, but it's not structural, so I'm just going to fill it with wood filler. When a flaw like this is not structural, you can just fill it. I can just fill it with plaster-based, like drywall joint compound or anything like that, wood filler. And I'm going to lacquer over it later so it'll be nice and firm and weatherproof. But if it's a little tip that has broken off, and instead of gluing it on, sometimes I'll just re-sculpt it with epoxy putty, which is stronger than the original concrete anyway. My moon child and my old man moon. Yellow is only a very secondary color on these. I usually use turquoise and aqua colors. But where the sun would hit it, I want to generally have some pale yellow. This is my Bob Ross wannabe voice. Oops. Oh, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents. There. I always like Bob Ross when he used to go, there. Okay, I'm going to just sort of blend this yellow into other colors that are going to come later. There's going to be sort of aqua and other blues on this thing and some metallic over the top, but I just want to lay down a little bit of yellow there, pale yellow. Same with these ones. Did you, Kirsty, did you watch Bob Ross to learn how to paint, or was it like therapy like it was for 90% of viewers? For me, it was like de-stress therapy when I had a stressful job. Yeah, me too. Well, I never intended to learn how to paint watching Bob Ross. I just like I didn't know who he was or what was going on, but I was overseas and he for some reason came on. His show was shown on public television over there where I was living um, every Saturday morning, and after a stressful week, I would love to just like watch. Okay, I think we're done with yellow. I'm gonna keep a little bit, but this has to be a sort of a yellow ochre, and this is more of a white. looking a little too opaque. I'm going to cover up the contrast. It's fixable. Need a paper towel. Yeah, that's better. Too much opaque color. I'm going to tone it down. It's better. This is the moment where my show devolves into a video about watching paint dry. It's very exciting. Let's watch the paint dry. If somebody asks you, what are you watching? Just say, I'm watching paint dry. Okay, well, it's been an hour and a half of video, so I think I'll um, bow out for now. It's lunchtime. And this is what it looks like painting my concrete sculptures. I'll do a little more painting tomorrow, and then Saturday and Sunday, tune in. I will be at the Vancouver Farmers Market. See you later.